Monday, February 26, 2018. Ms. Foster, please call the roll.
Mayor Boland,
Here.
Councilmember McGowan,
Here.
Councilmember DeHart,
Here.
Councilmember Bartoni,
Here.
Councilmember Manton,
Here.
Councilmember Vargas,
Here.
Councilmember Shea,
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell,
Here.
Councilmember Cox, Councilmember McCutcheon, Councilmember Bertolino,
Here.
Councilmember Roll,
Here.
Councilmember Alexander,
Here.
Councilmember Stein,
Here.
Councilmember Levitt,
Here.
Councilmember Minor,
Here.
Councilmember Garetano.
Here.
Okay, thank you. For those of you in the audience, if you have a cell phone or other electronic device that is on, if you would please make sure that the audio is silent or turn them off, we would appreciate it. And a reminder to all of us to speak as closely as possible to the microphone so your comments are captured for the live stream. Last thing is, we made you may have noticed a permanent change going forward to our council meeting agenda. Public participation is going to precede mayor appointments and announcements. As we saw at our last meeting, the public needed to comment on a couple of appointments, and so going forward, this will allow for public input before that happens, and it's actually more consistent with our ordinance. Can all please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And moving into approval of minutes from the February 12th, 2018 work session and regular agenda. Motion by Councilmember McGowan to approve, second by Councilmember Manton. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now moving to public participation. This is a valuable component of our meeting. Anyone who wishes to speak must complete a speaker card and provide it to the city clerk, who is seated to your left of the podium. You'll be called in the order the cards are received by her. When your name is called, please approach the podium and state your name and address. To make sure that all who wish to speak have the opportunity to do so, there is a 5-minute time limit per speaker. The light on the podium will turn red when the time limit is reached. Each speaker is provided with one opportunity to speak, and time may not be shared with others. Please address only the council and me. Talking between those speaking at the podium and others in the audience is prohibited. Our public participation is not a time for questions and answers with us. Any questions you raise as to city business will be duly noted by us, and when indicated, either we or our city team members seated next to the podium will subsequently respond to your questions either in person or by posting a response for everyone on the Community Voice section of our website. Thanks to Councilmember McCutcheon for that ID. Lastly, please be respectful to others in making your remarks. This means that interrupting other speakers, council members, or me, and using profane and abusive language are prohibited. And I want to thank everyone in advance for following these. First speaker card, please.
Jean Bedvig, Ward 4.
Jean Vedvig, 16709 Clayton Road. Mayor, your administration has quite a record. You've achieved becoming a council member by being appointed. You ran unopposed for mayor. Since then, you have violated the charter, which you and several council members admitted to. You publicly stated you did not like the charter regulation, which you did take an oath to support. So you set out to have the charter changed. Under the current administration, you, the council and city manager, hired and paid a lobbyist to represent Wildwood and Jefferson City. Under your administration, the state legislature passed legislation that to date has caused the city to have a shortfall of some $250,000 in sales tax revenues. To date, you have implemented, at the same time, we are losing revenue under your administration. The city of Wildwood has incurred costs or spent over $250,000 for economic development. At every meeting, you say that you or the council will respond, but someone will get back to you if you ask a question. Over 1 year later, I'm still waiting. In 22 years, past legislators in Wildwood have never had to create punitive procedures to silence the public and the council. You got two people who are not seeking re-election to resign early, allowing you to appoint your hand-picked candidates. You say they are not, but you are a driving member of a progressive action committee who has financially supported your hand-picked candidates, allowing you to sneak your candidates in before the election. You have written letters to other candidates, employers, called other candidates with derogatory negative comments, called residents telling them to stay away from certain residents, that they're toxic, prohibited me and other residents from attending a meeting with public servants from varying agencies regarding an issue that I and others have been working on since 1998, telling me that I cannot speak about certain issues you did not like. Under your administration, the Wildwood zoning maps are under attack, expanding commercial and residential areas, giving up commercial zoning in the downtown district. At this pace, Wildwood will look very different than the original vision. I'm requesting that you hold a work session to read the original plan of intent. Also, have another one to read the charter and the master plan. I know it's a lot, but you took an oath. You took an oath, and all of you say you support it. So you should have a work session and discuss it, because you're not following the plans that you take an oath and say you uphold. You might say that I have a pipe dream, that I want Wildwood to look like Wiley Incorporated. But you know what? There was a time in this city, in this area, in this region, that Wildwood was considered a pipe dream. It's a reality. So we have to protect it. With regards to the information about the funding of the PAC, that information is available to the public at the Missouri Ethics Commission. It's on their website. So I would encourage you to revisit why you took an oath and support the residents of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker card, please.
Kevin Dillard, Ward 3.
Evening. Kevin Dillard, 2421 Indian Tree Run. Full disclosure, of course, I'm a candidate for City Council in Ward 3, running against Mr. Boggs. So I think it's pretty obvious what's happening here. 2 meetings ago, Mr. DeHart brings up concerns he has that he can't talk about that deal with allegations against his political opponent, Mr. Grignani. Could also somewhat implicate Mr. Werther, I suppose. Not going to tell you what they are. They're just serious concerns, and we need an investigation. And we somehow think it's appropriate to say that in a public forum. 2 political opponents targeted. Then last week, the oddly quick appointment of Mr. Roll and Minor to seats just vacated about 6 weeks before the election when both men are on the ballot. What happened to me, of course, will be discussed later in the meeting. He knows what he said. I know what he says. We'll see what happens. 3 actions separated by no more than 2 weeks. 5 candidates targeted, or helped, I suppose, depending on your point of view. What an amazing coincidence that they just happen to be actions taken to disadvantage the mayor's opponents and help those his political action committee has endorsed and funded. I think if you can't maintain power by earning trust and respect, and then you have to use cheap and unethical intimidation tactics to smear your opponents and knock them out of the race, well, welcome to Wildwood in 2018. Now, after I spoke last week, the reaction to my stance against the abuse of power, intimidation tactics, belittling residents that's been happening in this city by the mayor and others, to say it's been met with unanimous approval is understating the facts. I've been to Deerberg's over here in Town Center about 7 or 8 times since the last meeting. I know you're thinking my kids eat a lot of food. We go there a lot. Every time I've gone but one, some complete stranger or strangers have approached me, they stopped me, and they said, "Hey, are you that guy? Are you Dylan?" Yes, first couple times is a little unnerving when that happened. And then they would say, "Thank you for what you're doing. Now let me tell you my story about what's happened to me by the mayor or by city officials." I've also received dozens of emails and phone calls along those same lines. People are outraged that they've been treated this way. I've heard several recurring themes from all these people. Many of them have been told that they have been targets or they have marks on their back as far as the mayor is concerned. At least 2 even said that you told them that you don't want to know what I'll do if you get another mark. What does that even mean? One man told me that after talking to you about city business, that he had felt more respected by the guy who mugged him outside of Busch Stadium last year. That's just a few of the several dozen things I've heard, either in person, on phone, or email. This is not okay. Those people are residents, not employees of the cities or even contractors. They are residents of the city, bringing concerns to the mayor or to the administration. And I suspect what I heard was just merely the tip of the iceberg. These are the folks who are motivated to seek me out or even just recognize me in Dearborn's. They're talking to their neighbors about it. I know that. This kind of reaction doesn't happen because a few people disagree with the mayor or have an issue. It is the result of a systematic, systemic, and pervasive pattern of disrespect for others by the administration. What else, again, would motivate people to seek me out, to recognize me in Dearborn's while I'm shopping, to thank me and tell me their stories? If you have to keep power by instilling fear in people who oppose you, by trying to drive them out of the race by using smear tactics, then frankly you've crossed the line and you're just a tyrannical dictator. Now I look forward to talking about issues such as good financial management, the preservation of parks, peace, green space, and the need for slow, sustainable growth and development. I think it's crazy that we spent about $100,000 last year in marketing and PR for economic development activities, including a lot for travel and meals. Those are the things I'd love to spend time talking about, and I will. For the 3 or 4 dozen people who've reached out to me and hundreds of others that I suspect are out there whose stories haven't yet been heard, this abusive behavior perpetrated by the mayor and others within the city is the most important issue, and I can fully understand why. The only way to move forward from this is productively is for this kind of behavior to end. For the city to heal, which is what it needs, the disease, and it is a disease, of abusive power, intimidation tactics, smear tactics, has got to be removed. My purpose moving forward is to be a voice for those residents and to help end that abuse of power. Thank you.
Takes the second. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Tim Werther, 539 Nantucket Point Drive, former member of City Council, former mayor, and currently a candidate for Ward 7 City Council seat. As Mr. Dillard spoke to regarding the quote-unquote audit, I do have a bit of an update for everyone, just so people are staying refreshed on what's going on. So remember we talked about this a couple weeks ago. And if you're wondering what's changed since then, plenty, quite frankly, but let's take a second just to recap. For those that are new here or perhaps watching at home, what's transpired. Council voted to perform an audit of financial transactions related to the Celebrate Wildwood events between the years of 2011 and 2016. That motion was based on false allegations. Glenn DeHart, who made the motion, did not review any financial transactions as he alleged. That's really a big problem to start off with. We know Glenn never spoke with Ryan, the city administrator, or reviewed any financial records related to the events. Further, a list of transactions was never produced until requested by myself in the days after the council adopted the motion. So who put the idea forward? Jim Boland did.
City administrator confirmed to me in writing, that's what you see up on the screen, that it wasn't Glenn, but Jim who asked for the audit cost. The result is taxpayers' funds are now being spent for political hit jobs. Just more attacks rather than actually focusing on the residents' business. Will there be action? I don't really know. So what's happened lately in the last couple of weeks? To make matters worse, the person that had no idea that there were suspicious transactions existed to start with got to go in and select his own transactions that he wanted. So much for honesty and hopes for a clean audit. Influence rather than transparency and independence now seems to be the standard operating practice here at the City of Wildwood. How sad it's become. Let's move on, though, to another topic, one that Mr. Dillard brought up 2 weeks ago. Jim, many of the policies, processes that you have enacted, you've stated along with it in your memos or at meetings that these are being done to protect the city. Is it protecting the city to double your own salary? Is it protecting the city to institute a timer and to not to answer questions when asked? Is it protecting the city to violate the charter because you believe you have the right to tell people who you believe they are either good or not a good individual as mayor? Is it protecting the city when you effectively fire the volunteers of the Wildwood celebration because you don't agree with their positions? Is it protecting the city when you decide to prevent resident comments at planning review meetings? Is it protecting the city when you decide to conduct background checks on residents without their knowledge or consent? After the revelation that you used your title and influence to go after a man, his wife and family, and demand that he get out of the race for council, how is that protecting the city? Remember, you admitted to sending the letter in the media, so why don't you just produce it for all the world to see? Who are you protecting now? Residents? After all these issues, who do you think Jim is looking out for? Do you think he's looking out for you? Do you really think that Jim is protecting the city or just himself?
Thank you.
Tom Lee, 17,000 Elm Trail, Eureka, Missouri. I spoke to 3 months ago regarding the gravel drive. I'm actually here to briefly talk about the safety and environmental destruction that it relates to the variance that the council approved in our hurriedness to get a new road put into our house at the Lavelle zone so they could have fire protection. We hastily voted on this thing to allow a gravel driveway to be put across over a quarter mile of our property instead of what the rules said before you allow the variance to happen and for it to be paved. But we were in a hurry to do that so the house could have fire protection. Well, here we are 3 months later, and this is what has been done. Now, we're in a hurry so we can get fire protection, where a paved road would take 2 more days during construction. Okay, that is the road as of today, after it has washed more gullies and more tons of gravel onto our property, and it continues to do so. Nothing's changed in the last 3 months. Our property continues to be destroyed by tons and tons of gravel washing on down to it. It's not only our property, but it's an environmental impact. It's a big deal. Tons of gravel. That's the same driveway going downhill that should be paved, but our people agreed to have the new road put in against what their rules and regulations were in the agreement to allow a new gravel driveway to be put in near this. If you look to the left of the picture, look carefully. All that white on the hillside, that's what's cascading down our hill, hundreds of yards, okay, not hundreds, 85 yards down into our pond. All that white is gravel off the road. and it continues to do that. Nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed, we recently got some stakes for the center of the easement that we agreed through an easement agreement for his road, paved road, to be relocated. Now it's going to go in as gravel road. What we are here to do is, what I'm going to do is hopefully, thanking Joe Vonich. Joe had stated that in the agreement of his construction, that there would be an escrow put aside to clean up the gravel that is cascaded down under our property. So I'm thanking Joe in advance for making sure that happens. I'm thanking the board members for making sure that happens and don't hurriedly, hastily vote on something that they haven't looked at or walked on and reviewed before they allow somebody to go through and not have the gentleman ruining our property remove his gravel from our property. So if there's an easement set in place, remove the gravel and remove the abandoned driveway and put it back to natural, we'll be okay with that portion. The safety issue is, if you look at the picture, that's currently a 12-foot wide driveway. His easement allows that to become a 15-foot driveway. If you look to the right of the picture where it says slow children crossing, that's a school path that the kids take from our subdivision onto that road. If he's allowed to make that road wider right where it's at, it's going to go from fence to telephone pole, and kids walking out from behind that 6-foot fence, somebody's going to get hurt. It becomes a safety issue. I was informed through Joe, and I'm thanking Joe in advance again, for ensuring that this new driveway he puts in our road, which is gravel, not paved, is centered in the center of the easement that's provided. If you look closely, there's an orange stake to the left. That is the center of the easement. Those fences were our guard. We removed all the fences off those posts, so it's just posts standing there. We vacated that whole area for his road to go in the center of the easement, which is going to be the safest place to put it. We do not want it right along where the kids step out as they walk to school. This is one more view a little further away. That post, that pink little post in the lower left-hand corner is the center of the easement. And that is where we would like to see the new driveway that he is putting in be centered in the easement and not the 10-foot driveway made 15-foot wide where somebody's going to get hit. We've relocated the red chicken coop out of the way so he's got full access to that whole area. Just hoping we can sustain that and maintain that for safety's sake. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker card, please.
There are no more speaker cards.
All right, thanks to all of you for offering your thoughts or public participation this evening. Moving along to mayor appointments and announcements, we have several. The first one is, and you have a memo from me on each one of these, the appointment of Councilmember Rawl to the Admin Public Works Committee. There are no questions. I would entertain a motion to that effect. To approve the appointment made by Councilmember Garetano. Is there a second to the motion? Second by Councilmember Manton. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Councilmember Rawl abstains. Next, we have similarly the appointment of Councilmember Rob Minor from Ward 8 to Planning and Parks Committee. Motion to approve the appointment made by Councilmember Bogus, second by Councilmember McGowan. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Councilmember Minor abstains. Motion carries. Next, moving to Economic Development Committee. This is bilateral appointment. Greg Alexander from Ward 6 and Councilmember Minor from Ward 8. Is there a motion to approve the appointment made by Councilmember McGowan, second by Councilmember Dodler? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have an abstention from members Alexander and Minor. Moving to the Manchester Road Improvement Committee, also an appointment of Councilmember Minor, given that that committee requires 2 council members from Ward 8. Is there any questions relative to that, or would someone like to make a motion to approve the appointment? made by Councilmember Alexander, second by Councilmember Garetano. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Councilmember Minor abstains. Motion carries. Also, Manchester Road Improvement Committee, we had a resignation of Ms. Nettie White. She was one of the business representatives from that area, and we have with us this evening Mr. Mike Petruso, who has a business very close to Ms. White's, and he is my recommended appointment to this committee. And thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. All right. Any questions for him or for me? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the appointment. We have a Councilmember DeHart, seconded by Councilmember Dodwell. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations and thank you for your willingness to be part of that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Next, Parks Action Plan Update Committee. Ms. Jean Pickett, who is the citizen representative from Ward 8. She is here with us this evening as well, sitting right behind Joe Vintage. And she replaces Councilmember Minor, who previously served in that capacity for Ward 8. Any questions for me or for Ms. Pickett? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve. We have a Councilmember Minor, seconded by Councilmember Garetano. Any questions? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next, also on the Parks Action Plan Update Committee is the appointment of Councilmember DeHart, who replaces Councilmember Alexander, who has had to resign because of a conflict with Tuesday night meetings. Motion to approve made by Councilmember Bogus, seconded by Councilmember McGowan. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Councilmember DeHart abstains. Next, the Crossings CID, Community Improvement District. We have a couple of things here. One is the appointment of the most senior council member from Ward 8, which is now Councilmember